Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater. And, there's been a long standing beef between George Lucas and David Prowse. As far as I can recall, it has everything to do with the profit return on, I believe, Empire Strikes Back. Because, Hollywood accounting these days, and, well, decades old, really make it hard for some movies to turn a profit, at least in some respects. So Prowse feels he's owed royalties on a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and Lucas essentially has been like, nah, you're cool. You're fine. You're good. And going as far as to ban him from attending any kind of Star Wars celebration events. I've met Prowse a couple times at Comic-Con over the years. He was always very friendly to me. He wouldn't know who the hell I am, but I was like, oh man, you're Vader. That's so cool. But that being said, you have a filmmaker out of the UK, a guy by the name of Marc John, who wanted to do a fan film, right, about Vader, about Prowse, and he had got it into a multitude of theaters. He got it into a screening, and 1,200 cinemas was going to be screening this particular movie, and part of it had to do with a live Q&A with Prowse himself. And well, Lucasfilm stepped in 2015 and shut the whole thing down. And so Marc John pissed off, and rightfully so, because even though Lucas sold this thing off to Disney in 2012, I guess that beef carried over. I'm questioning if it has a little bit to do with Kathleen Kennedy having been around Lucas for, roughly a few decades, or the fact that Disney is extremely protective over what it believes is its intellectual property. Quick anecdote. A guy I know worked for a jumpy company, a bounce house company, and they had a princess themed bounce house. She was blonde hair, blue eyed, generic looking princess. Disney came down with a lawsuit claiming that they owned the intellectual property rights on blonde haired, blue eyed princesses and made them get rid of their bouncy houses and also pay them a hefty fine and a settlement. Disney loves to over litigate, and so I believe that going through Lucasfilm is another reason why this whole thing happened. It's a combination of both, but they've actually lost this battle against Marc John. Saying here, Lucasfilm loses lawsuit against failed Darth Vader fan film. A lawsuit involving a filmmaker attempting a Darth Vader fan film in Lucasfilm ends in the former winning about £40,000 in damages. A man named Marc John from Buckinghamshire was stopped from streaming a live interview with David Prowse, the actor who played Darth Vader in the original Star Wars trilogy. The interview was set to be seen on 1,200 screens. This inevitably, according to Marc John, cost the filmmaker making £1.35 million from the film earning $3 million. No, I get that. He's pissed. He rightfully pissed. He went out, he shot a bunch of footage from Star Wars fan films or fan festivals and whatnot. He had this interview with David Prowse. Lucasfilm came in and they very much tried to shut this down. Now, this happened in 2015, right before the release of The Force Awakens, when Star Wars hype mode was at maximum. And we didn't really hear about this until now. At least it's not breaking out wide that I've never heard of it. But apparently, Marc John was really pissed off because he missed a profitable opportunity, as the original release was around the same time as J.J. Abrams' The Force Awakens back in 2015. The ambitious filmmaker was trying to take advantage of the hype building around the release of Episode 7. The attorney for Mr. John, Shane Sybil, stated that Lucasfilm's lawyers threatened to sue her, the organizers of the event, unless they backed out of the agreement to screen the Darth Vader interview that they had struck with Marc John. John went on to say that Lucasfilm unlawfully induced a breach of contract, which it kind of seems like they did. I mean, they don't own David Prowse. They might own the IP rights to Darth Vader, but when it comes to these sort of things, this is where fair use comes into play here. And really, like, I can understand why Marc John would be pissed off at losing, over £1 million. However, Lucasfilm was trying to argue that he wouldn't have made that much money, saying here that Lucasfilm had claimed that they've done nothing wrong. The Star Wars creator stated that Mr. John's claim is extraordinarily speculative and that he would have been lucky to make a profit. In no way, shape, or form does Lucasfilm see how the failed film could have made millions of dollars. The ruling by Judge Veronique Brulin contests Lucasfilm's opinion on the matter, saying, "I've come to the conclusion, on the balance of probabilities, that Mr. John would have made a film of the convention but for Lucasfilm's interference. The judge ruled that Mr. John could have made the film if not for the interference from the Disney-owned company." So yeah, they're trying to shut down a guy who made a movie, a documentary about going to a Star Wars fan festival, and then also interviewing, David Prowse and talking about Darth Vader. Like I said, Disney are hawks when it comes to Content ID, their property. I get that. They wouldn't be where they are without this kind of stuff. And people are always trying to find a way to capitalize on their property. I say this completely understanding the fact that I'm a dude who makes money talking about Star Wars. So I get it. I understand it. But that being said, it does really appear here that they went in and they started swiping down at this guy who may have made some money streaming this fan film as well as this live interview with David Prowse. The people that were going to the event, the 1,200 screens, the potential $3 million that it would have brought in total, probably would have been there in part for the fan film footage, because those are always fun to watch. But they would have also wanted to see David Prowse himself and hear David Prowse talk. And that essentially is what, in my opinion, what Marc John was arguing against, was arguing that Disney shut down this live Q&A with an actor that wasn't violating their copyright, but they were trying to argue that it was the Star Wars fan film footage, or the fan convention footage that brought it about. And I'm glad to see that they lost. I am glad to see that they lost. Now, 40,000 pounds, who knows if that's going to get him any bit of profit. I mean, it's $1 million fewer than what he believed he would have won or would have made off that. So, I mean, it's better than nothing, but at the same time, it really kind of screws him over. Now, here's the thing. What he should do, and this is just my suggestion, so Marc John, if you're listening to this, where things are at right now, you should really start doing a documentary about the fan reaction to Star Wars The Last Jedi. And then try to get that in theaters and see whether or not you do well there, because there's clearly a base for it. There's clearly a market for it. And you already have this particular winning underneath your belt, so you might as well use the positive coverage in order to basically get the financing or the doors open for your next endeavor. But anyway, I want to know what you guys have to think about this. Do you think Lucasfilm was in the right to shut this thing down? Do you think that it was vengeful on behalf of the higher-ups, the upper echelon of Lucasfilm that have worked with George for a long time and dislike David Prowse? Or do you think it was just a stone-cold business move? And ultimately, they were in the wrong for doing it. Let me know in the comments below. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day. And if you want to see more from me, which I hope you do, you can do so right now.